Tonight, let's dive into one of the most significant and just plain bizarre UFO encounters in American history. It's a story that kicks off on a quiet Kentucky farm, but wow, it ends up leaving this permanent mark on pop culture, pretty much changing how we imagine visitors from other worlds. And right from the get-go, you have to understand the human side of this. For the family who lived through it, this was a night of pure, absolute terror. That fear was so real, and honestly, it stayed with them for the rest of their lives. So, to really get what happened, we need to rewind back to the mid-1950s. This was the peak of the Cold War, a time of some serious national paranoia. Everybody was watching the skies, and a strange light wasn't just some mystery. No, it was seen as a potential threat. This anxiety was so real that the U.S. government actually had an official program to look into these sightings. Project Blue Book's whole job was to figure out if these UFOs were a danger to national security. So yeah, reports of weird stuff in the sky, they were being taken very, very seriously.
And that brings us right here, to this exact time and place. It's just a normal Sunday evening at this tiny, remote farmhouse in Kelly, Kentucky. This is the home of the Sutton family. A totally ordinary setting for what was about to become an absolutely extraordinary night. And this is the moment that quiet evening just completely descends into chaos. It all kicked off with one man, a simple trip to the well, and a strange light in the sky. So Billy Ray Taylor, a friend who was visiting the family, he steps outside to get a drink of water. As he's standing there by the well, he hears this noise, looks up, and bam, there it is. A metallic, oval-shaped craft with this rainbow-colored exhaust just hovering above the trees. He said it was so close, maybe only 30 or 40 feet away. He was terrified and he ran right back inside. A little while later, the family dog starts barking like crazy. Two of the men go to the door, and that's when they see it. What's really incredible is how consistently everybody described this thing. About 3.5 feet tall, with a huge head, these long arms with taloned hands that almost scraped the ground, and its skin had this weird greenish metallic glow. And the most unsettling part, it didn't walk, it floated. So this is where the story just escalates, dramatically. The family, and remember this included several adults and children, they suddenly realize they are trapped in their own farmhouse. It's not just one creature anymore, there are multiples and they are surrounding the house. Absolute panic sets in. One of the men grabs a shotgun, and all of a sudden, someone screams this exact phrase, "There's one in the tree." They look out and see one of the creatures just perched on a tree limb, watching them. So they shoot it, but the creature, it doesn't just drop. Instead, it seems to kind of float down to the ground, roll over, and then it just quickly scurries off into the darkness. Over the next few hours, they're firing over and over again at these things as they pop up at the windows and even on the roof. And every single time, their bullets seem to have no effect besides making this weird metallic ping sound. Can you imagine the desperation? They were totally isolated out there. No phone, no way to call for help. After hours under this terrifying siege, they finally see a break in the chaos, and they just make a run for it. They pile into 2 cars and speed those 7 miles to the Hopkinsville police station. The family just bursts into the police station, telling this wild, unbelievable story. But their fear was so real, so genuine, that the police chief actually took them seriously. He mounted this massive response, which leads us right into the official investigation. And look at this number. We're not talking about 1 or 2 patrol cars here. The chief rallied around 25 officers. This included state troopers and even military police from the nearby Fort Campbell Army Base. They all headed out to that farmhouse, and they were expecting to find something. But when the police arrived, they were met with this total paradox. On one hand, they found all the evidence of a huge fight, a family that was hysterical with fear, shotgun shells all over the place, and woodwork just riddled with holes. But for all that, there was no body, no blood, not a single physical trace of whatever it was they were shooting at. So the next day, the media just descends on this little farm. An engineer from a local radio station, a guy named Ledwith, he had this really clever idea. He separated all the family members and he had each one tell their story and draw a picture of what they saw. The result? It was stunning. Their stories and their drawings of the creatures were nearly identical. This single, terrifying night, it didn't just fade away into history. Oh no, it left this profound mark, not just on the family who went through it, but on the entire cultural conversation about aliens and UFOs. The aftermath was just swift and totally life-altering for them. The day after the siege, the media circus began. The Air Force and Project Blue Book, they investigated, but they couldn't find any proof of a hoax. But they also couldn't find any proof of aliens. So the case was left officially unresolved. And just 2 weeks later, the family, still terrified, sold the farm they called home and just moved away.
And the event's cultural footprint was just immense. The media started calling the creatures little green men, and that term became a permanent shorthand for aliens. The story directly inspired a young Steven Spielberg for his movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And to this day, it's still a cornerstone case in UFO lore because of the sheer number of witnesses and the official investigation that followed.
But, beyond all the pop culture stuff, let's bring it back to the people who actually lived it. This quote from Geraldine Stiff, her father was one of the men fighting that night, it just perfectly sums up their position. For them, there was never, ever any doubt it was real. And so, that's where we're left, with this central nagging question. Was it all just a shared delusion, maybe brought on by fear? An elaborate hoax for attention that they clearly didn't even want? Or, on that August night in 1955, did something truly inexplicable visit that small Kentucky farmhouse? Decades later, the case is still officially unresolved. A chilling story of what just might be lurking out there in the darkness.